going to lighten things up this week after last week's difficult topic of domestic violence in rated R. For those of you who were able to get through that and listen to it, I know it was a tough topic to hear me talk about, but I felt like it was very important, not only selfishly because it's very therapeutic for me to process things and the accounts of my past and my life and go through them and just share with everybody. But more importantly, I really wanted to share that so that if there is anybody out there that you were able to share it with, or if you yourself is a survivor or a victim of domestic violence, you could find comfort in knowing that you're not alone, or share it with somebody who could find that same comfort or the peace of mind that there's somebody out there that made it out to the other side and you're not alone. I had no idea when I recorded last week's episode that this month, the month of October, is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I couldn't believe the timing of that. So I guess it was just all meant to be. After listening to that particular episode and having peeked at my social media outlets, a friend of mine came to me and told me that she had listened to episode 21 rated R and mentioned that she was proud of me and gave me some nice feedback about it. But she said the only thing is that the picture that went with your promo for that particular episode is you with a ginormous smile on your face. Doesn't really go with the topic of domestic violence. And I agree. It doesn't, but it's just my face. I guess that's the face of somebody that's lived all these crazy stories and somebody that is a survivor of domestic violence. I think what that's telling us of is you don't know what anybody's gone through. However, I do have this weird thing about me where I am just always smiling. And I think that comes from, I have always been a happy person, but more than anything, I think living by the beach brightens my smile. And I love the beach. It's always been my happy place. Even though I'm a mountain girl, I grew up in the mountains. If ever I was told to go to my happy place, it would be to a beach with a sea, waves, and salt water and sand. And that is my happy place. I'm Nikki Lynn Chase. This is my podcast, and it's about navigating life's unexpected. This is my journey. These are my stories about being a mom to two special needs kids. Funny thing about my smile is that it was the one thing I always got comments on. And that's not because I'm a special person and with a smile. I've always had big teeth, and it took a while to grow into my teeth. And I grew up in a town that had way too much fluoride in the water. And what that means is some people got really white teeth and some people got very brown teeth. In fact, my dentist here in Southern California recognizes that the town I grew up in, which was Colorado Springs, is full of fluoride. It was on his charts at dental school. And I always liked it because I had white teeth before people were whitening their teeth. It's kind of like finding the magic sauce before it was a thing. And I would get comments. At first, I was really uncomfortable with my teeth because, like I said, they were so big and I had a big gap between the two front teeth. And I was obsessed with any sort of dental apparatus. I would make fake braces. I never got to wear braces. I never got a retainer. I never got anything other than bonding to fix the space between my teeth. So I'd make braces. I do that with foil. Again, might not have been the brightest kid, but made it with foil. Well, cool, but back in the day, all the fillings were done with metal, so you would feel that zingy electrocution feeling fighting foil. That still makes me cringe. Oh, that's the worst. So I would I loved making retainers. That was my preference between the two braces, fake braces and fake retainers. And I would do that, but I was really vested in making it as real life as I could. And I'd use a starburst to mold it to the roof of my mouth. And then I was very meticulous about the kind of paperclip to use. You couldn't use the heavy duty ones because those wouldn't bend right. Then you'd know it was a fake retainer. And I thought I had everybody fooled. I'd wear those things for as long as I could get away with it until I'd get called out on having a fake retainer. And I remember one time in particular, I'd gone to Mardi Gras, and I had no idea what Mardi Gras was about. I'm about college age, I guess, at this point. And I didn't know the bigger beads were gifted to those that were showing their boobs. And at that point, I was way too modest to show my boobs. So I just kept smiling, hoping maybe big teeth meant big beads. And a gentleman noticed me from afar, and he came over with this really big set of beads. And I couldn't believe it because I had my shirt on. I had everything. In fact, I was wearing a bodysuit, so it wasn't even accessible to flash my chest. And he gave me these big beads, and he said, I'm a dentist. And you have got the best teeth I've ever seen. And I was so elated because that was, I think, the first time I remember being complimented on my smile. And he was very complimentary because it's the only thing other than boobs that were sort of being displayed at Mardi Gras. Or he was just feeding me compliments, hoping that eventually my top would come off. Not sure, but I took the compliments and I took the beads. And I felt very proud of the fact that my smile kept me clothed. I never wasn't smiling, and it didn't fit in everywhere I lived, and it didn't fit in every situation I was in. In New York, it made me look weird. In New York, it made everybody ask me where I was from. In Washington, I was kind of an anomaly with a smile on my face in Washington. Both Washington and New York are fairly gray, at least the years that I spent in New York and Washington, very gray, drizzly weather. And I could see that if I lived in either place for too long, my smile would have dissipated immensely. But then when we got to Southern California, I think the second I got here, I was smiling. I haven't stopped since. Been here for probably 14 years now. And when we first relocated here and I got the kids and I a studio, and everyone thought I was nuts. How in the world are you going to live with 2 kids in a studio? I said, I don't care. We've got sunshine. We've got a beach. I'm going to have a bike. I don't have to walk all over the rainy hills of Washington. I have a beach cruiser. And I'll get a bike cart and I'll put those kids in the bike cart, and the boardwalk on the beach will be our highway. And that's how it was. And we never spent any time inside. So it didn't matter that we were in this teeny tiny studio. We literally just needed it to sleep and use the kitchen or the facilities. And that was it. That's all we used it for anyway. And we didn't have, of course, a dining room. We barely had any place to sit inside the studio. So every night I would pack our dinner and we'd eat dinner on a lifeguard stand. And I would tell the kids every single night how much they needed to appreciate where we were eating, because I said, look, no one else gets to have a dining room on the beach. We are very lucky. And my kids did love it. They appreciated everything about it. They've always been very adaptable, both of them, but being on the beach was just so incredible. So every night we'd eat our food, listen to the waves, and watch the sunset. When we stepped it up and we'd have a fancier dining experience, that was actually cooking our meal on the beach. So we'd gather around a fire pit, and that was just how we did life. That's how we did dinner every single night. And there was an evening, and it was no exception. The sunset was absolutely gorgeous. Kids are young, they're small. We've gone with the neighbor and the 2 twins that lived next door to us at the time. And the kids spot a police car. You can see the beautiful sunset, and then there's a police car, and then there's a truck, and it looks affiliated with the police. And I think it's not abnormal to see police trucks drive on the beach. They'll drive, they'll park, they'll talk to the lifeguards. I figured that they were just watching the sunset. It was epic. I remember that evening. It was one of the prettiest sunsets. They're all the prettiest sunsets to me. I think each night is the best sunset I've ever seen. But this particular night, I remember because I was taking pictures and it just looked really cool. And the kids go running. They want to go say hi to the police. You know, they're of that age where they want to go inquire. The mom that I was with she said, I'm going to just go check on them, make sure they're not driving them crazy or what have you. And she came back and she said, oh my God, Nikki, it's a dead body. I said, excuse me? And here I've been taking pictures. I've been taking pictures because there's silhouettes with the sunset in the background and the police. It was such a pretty scenic moment. She said, it's a dead body. And I looked and I look a little closer, and sure enough, I mean, it's very obvious. It's just, I couldn't believe that's what was going on. It was a gurney. It was like a corner truck. So it had a gurney, and it was a body, and it obviously was covered up, but the police had shooed the kids away, like, get out of here. This is a dead body. Well, it had washed ashore that evening before we had gotten to the beach. And I'm not going to lie, those are some of the prettiest pictures I gotten, but what an eerie moment. I know it's a questionable thing for somebody to say, but it made the dead body washing ashore almost look like a beautiful moment because of the sunset, because of the setting. It was absolutely gorgeous and peaceful. And during this time too, the kids are obviously very young, and they both end up at the school that's on the beach. And talk about just living vicariously through kids. I would find myself saying, when I was a kid, I would have to walk all the way to school in the snow. That's not that far off. I didn't go barefoot. I wasn't treading through feet and feet worth of snow. I think we did get rides when it was really snowy. But we used to have to walk what felt like miles and miles. I think it was just probably about a mile or a half a mile. I don't even know which. It felt like forever. But we would have to walk to school, and you did it by yourself. Your parents didn't walk you to school. And my kids were none the wiser. They were no different than we were as kids. But living vicariously through them and going to school on a beach was absolutely incredible. It doesn't get any cooler than when you have to go to a parent-student gathering. It's on the beach. I mean, it was kind of the coolest thing ever. So I enjoyed that. And the parents were cool, but I didn't feel like I fit in. I mean, these parents didn't meet another one that lived in a studio with their kids and rode their bike everywhere with the bike cart. And I was pretty much the only one that I knew that was putting all of our laundry in the bike cart to go to the laundromat and riding to the grocery stores with the bike. But during the morning time when it was just dropping off the kids, then I fit in pretty well. And it was just an extraordinary experience to look around and see all these just beautiful people. And there was this air of happiness. Of course, there's a lot of fake people. Those exist everywhere in every pocket of the world. And I know Southern California is extremely, they're stereotypically extremely fake people. But truthfully, I found so many extremely nice ones out there. Just had this, I'm sure part of it was just I was so happy to be where we were, out of the rain, out of Colorado, out of the situation we were in Colorado. And it was just my happy place, and is my happy place. But these parents would show up to this event every Friday called Flag Deck, where the parents would meet up with the kids, and we'd kind of go over whatever was going on, the events of the week or the weeks to come. Maybe it was twice a month, but everybody was dressed to the nines. I thought I probably better step it up a notch, but I had no money. I had no money. I wasn't shopping, and I was biking all day. So once my kids were in school, I'd sit at a lifeguard stand. I'd have my coffee and Diet Coke. And how long I'd sit there was contingent on how bad the morning was, how rough it was to get them to where they needed to go for school. And I would sit there, and then I'd start my day. And that day would either be me putting a bunch of laundry in the bike cart and going to the laundromat, or it would be going to all the various grocery stores I needed to go to. At the time, I drank a lot of wine, so I'd go to Trader Joe's, and I'd reward myself. I'd get a whole case of $2 Chuck, and it filled the whole box filled up the bike cart. So that would be something I would do. And that's how I would reward myself. I could only drink wine if I rode the bike all the way up the street. It was a few miles away and then back down. But I got to know everybody along the way. What could really be easier than adapting to life on the beach, especially after having spent a whole entire year in the state of Washington without a car? I mean, anything was going to be easy in comparison. So the fact that I had to adapt to going to fancy Fridays at the elementary school and all that meant for me was exchanging out the exercise shorts for a tennis skirt. That was me getting fancy and I loved it. That was right up my alley. I still could wear sneakers or flip-flops, anything goes, and that was perfect. Finally, it was time for Bootsy to graduate and they had both graduated size-wise out of the bike cart. And so it was kind of time to put the beach cruiser on hiatus. I would just ride it, well, to school once Sandler could ride his bike. Then we would still continue to use the boardwalk as our freeway. Our freeway to school. But Bootsy was off to junior high school, and we had the opportunity to finally get a car. And I got to meet a whole new set of parentals. And it was just interesting because it opened our doors for doing a lot more in a wider, broader vicinity. So we got to go and just expand, I guess, if you will, the whole entire area. But the funny thing is, a lot of these parentals, I was noticing they just looked so darn good. I never took into account that these people might have a little easier life than me. They might not have spent the last 6 years biking their kids all over creation. They might not have spent their time trying to juggle two special needs kids, etc., etc. But I'm looking at these women and they're just uberly beautiful. Their lives just seem so put together and they look so refreshed and beautiful. But then I started picking up on a lot of these people had had work. And I thought, well, just as I fit in with my tennis skirt, I'd like to get some work done. I have noticed I have like a little few wrinkles coming in around the old mouth area, and everyone's doing it. I'd like to get a little filler, Botox, or whatever that is that they're doing. I want to also. And so I researched. I found a doctor, and he had great reviews, and I went in and I explained what I wanted to have done. But I also explained my budget, which was, I'm sure, extremely different from the majority of the people that went in to see him. And I explained what I wanted to have done and in that I had never had anything done before. And so we started out very, very small. And I don't know what small means. I just know he was kind of apprehensive, and my budget only allotted me to get a very small dose of whatever it was that he put in there. I think it was filler. Well, I felt very Southern California this particular day. But what I didn't like was I could not figure out to save my life how this caught on for people because I was hypersensitive to pronouncing words because we'd spent the last 10 years of both kids being in speech therapy. I guess at least the last 10 years of both kids being in speech therapy, and I could no longer feel my mouth. I couldn't feel my upper lip. It was the most uncomfortable feeling ever. Well, also to preserve my white teeth, I've always drank everything out of a straw. I drink my coffee out of a straw. It's just something I've always done since I was a kid to preserve. I think it was once I figured out everybody was catching up in the white teeth department. I just preserved the whiteness of my teeth by drinking through a straw. So here I was with the inability to pronounce my words. I couldn't. I felt like I needed to tag along with my kids to speech therapy, and I couldn't drink out of a straw. I would go to drink something and it would drip out of my mouth because I couldn't feel anything with my upper lip. All I kept thinking was, how the hell did this catch on? I mean, people have their whole entire faces done. They look beautiful. Some of them more beautiful than others. Some they've gone a little overboard, or some it's not a good look and it's just very obvious. But the majority of the people I know that get this done regularly, it looks very natural. It looks very good. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? I can't even I couldn't talk. I couldn't make words. I couldn't drink out of a straw. And I was terrified. I was terrified it was going to last forever. So I decided to ditch the fillers or the Botox and try to embrace the aging grace gracefully. I don't have the talent. I don't have it's so much work for me. It's funny, a lot of people, if they need a disguise, they'll put on a hat and sunglasses or a hat and glasses. For me, if I don't have a hat and my glasses on, that is my disguise. No one has any idea who I am if I don't have glasses on. And I don't know who anybody is if I don't have glasses on because I cannot see. So I got my go-to face back. I got my smile back and never to be revisited again. Fortunately, with poor eyesight, I can't see the wrinkles coming in, so it's fine. Just grow old gracefully, try to embrace that element, and that's the one part of Southern California I cannot embrace, not the work. It makes me way too uncomfortable. But I got my smile back, and I don't find that there's a whole lot not to be smiling about living where we live. And I continue to love and enjoy the fact that I can take on my newfound sport that I love to play, pickleball, and be in my tennis skirt in the mornings, and then find myself a little later at a skate park wearing my tennis skirt, but it pairs nicely with my skate shoes, and then I'll have a skate session with half tennis clothes, half skate clothes, and it just works. And that's why I love Southern California. Kind of anything goes, but it's this laid back atmosphere. However, the funny thing is, it wasn't but a few weeks ago we were on a boat to Catalina, and the staff had let us go up into the wheelhouse, myself and the kids. And we're talking to the guys that are running the boat. And this one gentleman asks me where I'm from. And I kind of shoot my finger over and point to the town where we're located. And he said, no, 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 I mean like from. Where are you actually from? What state? And I was kind of offended, thinking, well, I have a hat on, so you don't know that this isn't real blonde hair. You can't see my roots. And I thinking, why does he know I'm not from California? And so I asked him, I said, well, why do you think I'm not from here? And he said, you're just way too nice. You're way too happy. You're way too smiley to be from California. And I thought, no, 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 no. They're very nice people here, and lots of them. I think people who are from here maybe don't appreciate how awesome it is. Whereas we came from freezing cold. I came from knowing what it's like to go outside and never have an ice scraper for the windshield and scraping off thick, thick ice with maybe a credit card or something. Never having a warm car to get into, and then a year in raining Washington without a car. So every day I'm here and in the sunshine, I have a smile on my face. But I was always smiling. I've smiled through my life. I've smiled through all of it. It's my go-to face. And I think it all just goes together. I think a smile comes with, at least for me and at least for our family, it comes with the sunshine, it comes with the sea, it comes with the beach, and the laid back living of Southern California. One of my favorite stories of all time that has to do with the beach is a day not too long ago that I was at the beach with Sandler. So today's extra, extra, read all about it. We've got the craziest stories, no doubt about it, is a story about a day that Bootsy Sandler and I had gone to the beach. And the beach was just full of, I don't know if it was spring break time or what time of the year it was, but there was a plethora of young adults. And of course, because we have such nice weather and it's a beach and times are now, minimal bathing suits are required. And Sandler is just gawking. I mean, he's drooling as he's trying to shuffle through the sand and get closer to the surf and get to the water. And I look over at him, and he is just got this look of hubba hubba all over his face. And he starts saying how much he likes the biscuits. And I'm asking him what he's talking about. And Sal, what do you mean? You like the biscuits? You know, the beach biscuits. And I'm trying to figure out, I mean, he's got this just look on his face, so he can't get enough. So I'm thinking, what is he talking about? Beach biscuits. Mommy, I love the beach biscuits. And we go to this one restaurant on the beach quite often because they've got something called fun buns. So I'm thinking, is he in the mood to go get some fun buns? They're like donuts, they're like beignets, they're sugar coated fried dough. And I'm thinking, is he talking about fun buns? And he said, no, I love the beach biscuits. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, Mommy, the girls with the bathing suits where you can't see their bathing suits, they're beach biscuits. And all of a sudden, I burst out laughing. I must have laughed for literally a good 3 hours on that one. He meant the buns, the girls' buns that he was seeing all over the beach. He couldn't get enough of them, and he was calling them beach biscuits for beach buns. And it was the most priceless, most amazing, awesome thing. So forever and always, little derrieres, little beach derrieres will be known in our house as beach biscuits. Tune in next week for an episode all about Halloween. Of course, as you can imagine, Halloween's a very big holiday in our household. Between it being Sandler's all-time favorite, obviously, I had a whole entire episode on Chucky. He's such a Chucky fan. And so next week's episode will be all about the spooky holiday that's coming up. Please like, follow, share, subscribe. This week, the whole new website has launched, so please check out adultchicken.com. You can find me also on Apple and Spotify podcasts at Adult Chicken, as well as YouTube, Adult Chicken, and Instagram, adult_chicken.